This video is about the famous people and celebrities who passed away in 1980 in the United States. This is the second episode. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Jimmy Durante, he was born in February 1893 and he died in January 1980. His age was 86 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was pneumonia. Jimmy Durante was an American comedian, actor, singer, and pianist. His distinctive gravelly speech, Lower East Side accent, comic language butchery, jazz-influenced song, and prominent nose helped make him one of the United States' most familiar and popular personalities of the 1920s through the 1970s. He often referred to his nose as Schnozzola, Italianization of the American Yiddish slang word schnoz, meaning big nose, and the word became his nickname. By the mid-1920s, Durante had become a vaudeville star and radio personality in a trio named Clayton, Jackson, and Durante. When the trio played Broadway's famed Palace Theater during the week of June 4, 1928, Betty Felson's production of Ballet Caprice headlined the bill. Lou Clayton and Eddie Jackson, Durante's closest friends, often reunited with Durante in subsequent years. Jackson and Durante appeared in the Cole Porter musical The New Yorkers, which opened on Broadway on December 8, 1930. Earlier the same year, the team appeared in the film Roadhouse Nights, ostensibly based on Dashiell Hammett's novel Red Harvest. David Newell, he was born in January 1905 and he died in January 1980. His age was 75 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. David Newell was an actor whose acting career spanned from the very beginning of the sound film era through the middle of the 1950s. He made film debut in a featured role in The Hole in the Wall, a 1929 film starring Edward G. Robinson and Claudette Colbert. Early in his career, he had many featured roles in such films as RKO's The Runaway Bride in 1929, starring Mary Astor. He would occasionally receive a starring role as in 1930's Just Like Heaven, which co-starred Anita Louise. However, by the mid-1930s, he was being relegated mostly to smaller supporting roles. During his 25-year acting career, he appeared in over 110 films. His final appearance in film was in 1954's The Eddie Cantor Story, in which he had a small supporting role. In late 1940s, he also began working as a makeup artist, which he transitioned full-time in 1955. This was due to injuries sustained during a car accident, which left him physically disfigured. He retired from the film industry in 1961, although he continued to work in television through the beginning of the 1970s, his last position being the makeup artist on the television show Lassie. William O. Douglas, he was born in October 1898 and he died in January 1980. His age was 81 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. William O. Douglas was an American jurist who served as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from 1939 to 1975. Douglas was known for his strong, progressive, and civil libertarian views and is often cited as the United States Supreme Court's most liberal justice ever. Nominated by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1939, Douglas was confirmed at the age of 40, becoming one of the youngest justices appointed to the court. In 1975, Time called Douglas the most doctrine and committed civil libertarian ever to sit on the court. He is the longest-serving justice in history, having served for 36 years and 209 days. After an itinerant childhood, Douglas attended Whiteman College on a scholarship. He graduated from the Columbia Law School in 1925 and joined the Yale Law School faculty. After serving as third chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Douglas was successfully nominated to the Supreme Court in 1939, succeeding Justice Louis Brandeis. He was among those seriously considered for the 1944 Democratic vice presidential nomination and was subject to an unsuccessful draft movement prior to the 1948 United States presidential election. Leonard Strong, he was born in August 1908 and he died in January 1980. His age was 71 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Leonard Strong was a character actor recognized for playing mysterious and villainous roles in film and television. Strong achieved some pop culture notoriety for his role on television as The Claw on Get Smart, where Agent Maxwell Smart, Don Adams, is unable to understand Strong as he announces his evil nickname of The Claw. Confused, Small calls the villain The Claw, causing the bad guy to continually and with increasing irritation correct him. Strong appeared as The Claw in 2 episodes, Diplomat's Daughter in 1965 and The Amazing Harry Who in 1966. Additionally, he played the role of Lin Chan in The Laser Blazer in 1968. In The Cure in 1960, a season 5 episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents Set Deep in the Amazon jungle, Strong plays Louise, a grimly faithful native manservant. Another notable television role was his haunting and mostly silent portrayal of the title character in the original Twilight Zone episode, The Hitchhiker, often listed as one of 10 best episodes of the series. Strong died in Glendale, California in 1980, aged 71. Jack Bailey, he was born in September 1907 and he died in February 1980. His age was 72 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Jack Bailey was an American actor and daytime game show host, a former vaudeville musician and World's Fair banker. Bailey is best remembered as the host of Queen for a Day, a daytime show which first aired on the Mutual Broadcasting System in 1945 and later moved to television, where it ran locally in the Los Angeles area from 1948 through 1955 on the NBC television network from January 3, 1956 to September 1960, on the ABC network from September 1960 to October 1964. Each episode started with a different introduction, some of which were parodies of the popular shows of the time period. But inevitably, the opening would resolve when Bailey pointed on to the camera and the audience and loudly asked, "Would you like to be queen for a day?" As live audience, mostly women, cheered. Prior to his success with Queen for a Day, Bailey had a varied career, including playing with jazz bands, directing musical comedy, tent shows, and barking for the World's Fair. In Chicago 1933, he was an announcer for several radio programs including The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, Duffy's Tavern, and Meet the Misses. Professor Longhair, he was born in December 1918 and he died in January 1980. His age was 61 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. Professor Longhair was a pioneering New Orleans pianist whose rhythmic style heavily influenced rock and roll and R&B. He was active in 2 distinct periods, first in the heyday of early rhythm and blues and later in the resurgence of interest in traditional jazz after the founding of the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival in 1970. His piano style has been described as instantly recognizable, combining rumba, mambo, and calypso. Music journalist Tony Russell wrote that the vivacious rumba-rhythmed piano blues and choked singing typical of Fess were too weird to sell millions of records. He had to be content with string musical offspring who were simple enough to manage that, like Fats Domino or Huey Piano Smith. But he's also acknowledged as a father figure by subtler players like Alan Toussaint and Dr. John. According to Dr. John, the professor put funk into music. Longhair's thing had a direct bearing, I'd say, on a large portion of the funk music that evolved in New Orleans. Professor Longhair died in his sleep of a heart attack while the filming of the documentary was underway and before the live concert, which was planned to be its climax. Warren Smith, he was born in February 1932 and he died in January 1980. His age was 47 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was heart attack. Warren Smith was an American rockabilly and country music singer and guitarist. In 1957, Smith recorded So Long I'm Gone, a song written by Roy Orbison. It became his biggest hit for Sun, peaking at number 74 on the Billboard National Chart. But Sun had no cash to promote it, as Sam Phillips put every dollar Sun had behind Jerry Lee Lewis's whole lot of shacking going on. Smith continued to make rockabilly records for Sun, including a cover version of Slim Harpo's Got Love If You Want It. But these records did not do well commercially. Toward the end of 1958, seeing his future in country music, he cut a final record for Sun, a cover version of Don Gibson's Sweet Sweet Girl, in spite of a review in Billboard calling it ultra-commercial. This record also did not sell well. Smith's contribution to rockabilly music has been recognized by Rockabilly Hall of Fame. Bob Dylan repeatedly featured Smith on his XM satellite radio show, Theme Time Radio R, playing Smith's records Red Cadillac and a Black Mustache, Uranium Rock, Ubangi Stomp, and So Long I'm Gone. Dylan recorded a studio version of Red Cadillac and a Black Mustache in 2001. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.